friends, welcome back. We are doing a DIY today on this plastic planter that I found. I'll give you a little bit more background in a minute on why this project started, but what we're gonna be doing is turning this black plastic planter. It's about 19 inches, so it's pretty big. And I needed something that was gonna be really lightweight so that I could move it around. I am currently kind of babying a hydrangea and trying to figure out where is a good spot for it. So I needed a bigger planter than the pot that it's in. I'm going to keep my hydrangea in there for at least a year, maybe 2 years, and I've heard you need a good amount of room for their roots. So I didn't want to spend a ton of money. I found this today at home and it was $21.99. I really love the urn style planters. Actually, I brought some inspiration. I've got this little one here and I absolutely love it. But if you get any of the ones that are actually some kind of stone, they're very expensive. So I have this for inspiration today. I also have this one. So I'm hoping to kind of go for a similar color to this, but I'm also using products that I already have. So I've gathered some supplies here, and basically what we did is we went rummaging through the garage to see what we already had that we could use for this project. So I have this grout. It's a sanded grout. It's pre-mixed. We're gonna try to use this with it. We have this from several years ago when we were redoing our kitchen at our old house. And we really have no use for it now, so I thought this is the perfect time to try to use it up. It is in this DeLorean gray color, so hopefully that won't throw off my color scheme too much, but as long as I get some kind of cement feel, I think I'm good with it. We need this though for some texture to give it that concrete look. I also have my favorite chalk paint, which is the chalked in linen white, so we're gonna be using this. We're gonna be mixing the grout with it. And then I just went ahead and grabbed some of my acrylic paints that I have to try to sort of give some variation and some different colors. Like I said, I was kind of using this one as inspiration. I don't know for sure if I'll use the green, but you can see a little bit of green tint throughout it. So I may, if I do, this will be more towards the end, but mostly we'll be working with kind of blacks and browns and just lightening them up with the white and kind of getting probably several different colors, and then we'll start to apply that. Okay, I feel like I have a pretty good base here. I added some of this, no exact measurements, some of our white chalk paint, and then I went in with this color fawn just to warm it up a tiny bit because this DeLorean gray is very, very cool toned. And I kind of came up with this, which I feel like isn't too far off from the base color of this. Now I'll have to go back and add some, depth and some variation and whatnot, but I think this is going to be a good start for us. I mixed up just a tiny bit. We're just gonna try this out and see what we think. It's not super grainy. We might need to go back and add some texture to it later, but we're just gonna kind of get started and see what happens. Okay, so now I have my darker color. It took me a while to get it, so I ended up mixing and mixing and mixing, and now I have a ton of this dark paint, but that's okay. What I can do is I can actually just mix this down with some white or pour some of it into another cup and really dilute it out with some white so that I can get a different, like, lighter version of it. So it's totally fine. Maybe I should have gone in and done the crevices first, but I actually think it's gonna be okay. You could probably do it either way. Maybe doing the darker first would have been better, but I'll have to just go back in over with some of the lighter color just to kind of like blend it all together. So this is just one of those things you have to just play with it and see kind of what happens, and I might know some tips at the end of this to share with you. So stay tuned, because if I have anything that I think I would have rather do, I'll share that at the end. The further I got in this process, I came to the conclusion that I think it was a good idea to get that entire thing covered in that white base. It all started off with the same color and the same texture, so that's something that I would do again. Now, initially I was trying to go really light-handed with this dark color. I tried a lot of different techniques, different sized brushes, and in the end I found it really worked best just to slap that color on, get it worked into all of the crevices, and then blend out the edges. Once I had that dark shade worked into all of the crevices, I then mixed up a medium shade, and I used a sponge to start the blending process. So using the medium shade and the light shade, you're gonna kind of alternate between the two to blend out and create some like shading and highlighting. So this is one of those projects that it gets worse looking before it gets better looking, but you just have to trust the process. My perfectionist brain struggles a little bit with projects like this, but I do think for the finished product, it was totally worth it. I even kind of went in with a second lightest shade and almost did like a really quick light wash over the whole thing. That's kind of what you're seeing me do here with this brush. It feels a little backwards after spending all that time to do that, but I found that it softened it a lot, and so, you know, I could always go back in, which you'll see me kind of do with a little bit of that medium shade to kind of blend that through. So again, you're just kind of playing with it and alternating, going back and forth between the colors until you get the finish you like. Okay, so this is how it turned out. I think it looks pretty good. I will say that I was wanting it to be a little bit more of the warm tones, and it definitely ended up more of a cooler gray. But I do think as it sits outside, it gets a little bit of dirt on it. It's kind of got some wear and tear. I think it'll probably warm up a little bit. So yeah, I think all in all, I would definitely use this technique again. The painting took me longer than I thought it was going to. The sanded grout gave a nice textured finish. I would definitely do that again. It's a little bit messy, so moving it around, painting over it, some of the sand is falling off of it. So I think we have one last step to do before we can plant in it, and that is to give it a top coat. This is my favorite product to weatherproof anything. I think this is gonna really help to kind of seal it in place so that we're not getting so much fallout from the sand. And it's just Rust-Oleum's Matte Clear Enamel. This is just my favorite one to use for any project that I want to weatherproof. I've used this for signs, I've used this for so many things, and what I love so much about it is the matte finish is really just perfect. It doesn't make it shiny, it doesn't make it too matte, it's really kind of just a really natural, pretty finish. So this is what I like to use. We're gonna take this outside, we're gonna spray it. I might do a couple of coats of this, and then probably tomorrow I'll go ahead and get my hydrangea finally planted into this planter. Highly recommend not skipping this step. Doing a couple of really light coats. If you go too heavy, it can break up your paint a little bit, so just go in light-handed, but it completely sealed it. I can tell it's much more durable now than it was prior to sealing it. Keep in mind though, this is the first time that I've done this project, so I have not had a planter with this paint technique sit outside for a year. I don't know how it will hold up. We can only hope for the best. But here's a glimpse at my hydrangea that I am working on babying back to life. We're in Kansas here, zone 6B, I believe, and it just does not like the heat here. I have a spot in my garden bed up front that gets morning sun and afternoon shade, which is what I continuously read that they like, and it does not thrive, it burns. So I have moved it to the sunroom. It's doing a lot better there. If you have any tips or tricks for hydrangea care, go ahead and leave them in the comments below, and we will see you guys in the next video. Bye.
The viewers haven't seen me in a while.
I know. Where you been?
I'm busy.
Just busy being so handsome. Carrying all the weight in this family.
That's gonna do it.
All the looks.
Someone's got to do the difficult task of looking good.